welcome to Statistically Speaking, a UteNation podcast. I'm Ute fan Ivan, also known as Hype Video Ivan on Twitter. And with me, I've got Joe, Dustin, and Matt with me. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves real quick, and we'll get going from there.
Sure, I'll go first. I am Joe Silverswag. I am the resident wet blanket. It is my job to pull out all of the predictive statistical analysis that says that the Utes ate all that and to throw ashes on your dreams. And I'm looking forward to a rousing season of that activity starting this week. But we'll save that for a few minutes down the road here. Dustin and Matt, your turn.
I can't wait to hear about
that. I'm Dustin Birch. I'm another one of the stat guys for UteNation. I like to take a look at the experience that the teams have coming back and what we expect from them. In particular, this week we're going to take a look at UCLA and what we can expect to see. And in my real life, I'm an attorney and I play a statistician here on this podcast.
So I'm a financial analyst, and by that nature, I love to analyze. And so I often will write the preview articles of the opponents for UteNation.com. And I've looked into UCLA heavily, and I'm quite interested to hear how some graph can say that this team will actually be a good team. So I'm anxious to hear that.
I don't even have the graph yet. We are still. So this is an interesting. I'm trying to make this short. Quick aside. So the way that my system works is that I take all of the existing advanced metrics, so things like SP Plus, ESPN FPI. There's a few dozen of them that you can find on Massey, and then there's also the Vegas lines. Those guys are I don't know, necromancers or something. They're really good at their job. And I use all of those things and pile them together, think about how they're wrong in different ways and sort of weight all of those, put them together, create a weighted average that creates a score prediction. But one of the things that I input into that is a historical track record of how the teams have competed against each other. And since Utah is new to the conference, I don't have a lot of data, and we're still building out the model. So I don't have a graph for you, and we will get into the statistical reasons why I'm maybe a little bit less high on this game than you might expect. But it's an interesting time, and the chart doesn't say anything, but the chart would say sad things if I had it.
I don't fear the chart this week. I don't fear it at all.
It's easy to not fear something that doesn't exist, man.
Right? It's hiding in the shadows still. So that's plus total deniability, right? I can say, oh, yeah, I just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah, that's true.
The Utes go out there and win by 14. So I can say whatever I want. It's great. I got to do this more. Maybe I just won't do a chart this year. I'll just make it up as I go.
Just say you have one in front of you, and we just have to believe you.
Yes, it says right here, everybody. Yeah. You can't see it. It's proprietary. All right, let's move. Dustin, I don't think you said hi yet. Is that right?
Yeah, I am fully expecting Utah to beat UCLA. I don't even think it'll be as close as Vegas thinks it will be, and Vegas thinks Utah is going to win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I put it out on Twitter already, 38-13 Utah, and I don't even feel worried about that. This team, the UCLA. No, they're not good. What are they?
They're not good. They're not good, and they're worse than they were last year, despite getting Nico. UCLA is worse than they were last year, and they were 5-7 last year.
Nico's
not a good 5-7 either.
Yeah, Nico lost all the pieces that made him good. Nico won't. You look at Nico in any games that are relevant against any top 25 team, and he was quite bad.
Who did Nico come over with?
Was brother?
The core thing that we have going on for me, that there's two key factors in place. The first is that it is very early in the season. Early season games have more volatile scores and historically higher performance for home teams. UCLA is a strong home team. That's a tough situation. And then the UCLA, I think that Utah fans get really used to kind of ragging on UCLA because Utah's beat them in general more often than people expected. UCLA has had some down years. UCLA often has kind of a funky approach and often misses expectations because the expectations tend to be sky high and sort of overhyped. But if you step back from the sort of story that we all tell about UCLA as former Pac-12, followers, they're still the UCLA Bruins. They still recruit at an extraordinary high level. They are stacked first, second, third string with athletes that, in general, Utah does not have players that can compete on just a man-up basis in many, many positions on the field. So Utah has to rely on all of the things that makes Utah a good football team. When they're a good football team, the teamwork and the discipline and the organization in order to do that. But you're still looking at a team that's got bigger, faster, stronger players at almost every single position. And that means plays are going to break open and big runs and big passes are going to happen. And that introduces the kind of volatility that just makes it really hard to predict big wins. UCLA is not a great football team. UCLA is not a team that anybody's going to pick to win a title or anything along those lines. But there's still just a heck of a bunch of really, really good athletes on that football team. Better athletes than the Utes are fielding, and at the end of the day, it's a Jimmy's and Joe's question. And when I look at like recruiting track record over the last 4 years, it's hard to discount just the level of talent on that team, the home field advantage, and there's some of the advanced statistics just don't look that great. ESPN FPI has these teams about 4 points apart, and has UCLA slightly favored to win by about 52%. I don't think it's going to be 24-0, but wouldn't surprise me at all if at the end of the day we have a score or something in the range of, maybe 28-25, something like that, with UCLA walking away with this one would be my prediction.
Yeah, I completely disagree for two reasons. One, UCLA was 25 points from 0-12 last year. And those wins were Hawaii, Rutgers, Nebraska, Iowa, and Fresno State. That's the 25 points that they scored against those 5 teams to keep them from 0-12 last year. So those great Jimmys and Joes that they've been recruiting for the last 5 years are trash. They were very bad last year. That is a very bad team. And they lost at home to Indiana by 30. Not to USC, to Indiana at home by 30 points. And almost all of that team, all of the experience that could have been built upon to make them better this year, to get a step forward and improvement, is gone. They return 2 offensive linemen. They return almost no wide receivers. They return none of their running game. So the things I was worried about for Utah, the defensive line, they're up against a very inexperienced offensive line. With one good transfer in, sure, but it's going to be young. Talented, maybe, but young, inexperienced. The kind of thing that Morgan Scalley and the Utah defensive line can take advantage of. And the defense isn't going to be a lot better. Now, I will say we're going to see some familiar names. We Utah fans are going to see some familiar names. You see a Kafusi on this team. Anthony Woods transferred to this team. We're going to see some familiar names, but UCLA lost 3 linebackers to the draft, 2 offensive line to the draft, secondary players to the draft. They lost all of these really super talented Jimmys and Joes, and I don't think they replaced them with as good of players as the players that almost went, that were 3 touchdowns away from 0-12 last year. So this is a Utah team I think is pretty experienced, is going to be balanced on both sides of the ball. They've got some holes, but this is a Utah team that if they can't take care of what I expect to be a pretty bad UCLA team, Utah fans are going to be in for a long season, because this is another team that misses a bowl game if this game is a loss.
So you guys are stats guys. What was UCLA's offensive production with their quarterback last year?
It was horrible. It was one of the worst. Right? Yeah.
So that's kind of – well, go ahead, Matt. You're good.
I was just going to say, I mean, Ethan Garber's never jumped off the page to me as a great quarterback, but he was one of those high recruits, you know, and that's where I don't always go with the high rankings and that their athletes are necessarily better than Utah's at this point, because – you know, when they have guys like Ethan Garbers, he was okay. But, you know, when you have an offense like that, they were like in that offensive line, 112th in sacks last season, giving up 34 sacks, 128th in rushing offense with a good running back, I thought. You know, so only 86 yards a game on the ground. And I don't think they're better. I think they've actually gotten worse. And so that's where I feel really confident. And their defense was kind of they were a lot like Utah. They had a top 50 defense. And the defense is what kind of kept him in those games, kept him close. That defense, yeah, especially with that linebacking group. The one player that Whittingham talked about in his press conference was on the defensive line, and that was Gary Smith III, who's actually returning from injury. He's a 6-year senior. So the defensive line actually looks like they'll be pretty good, but yeah, just as Dustin mentioned earlier, that's where Utah's strength is on the offensive line, and so they'll handle that defensive line. You've got a secondary and a linebacking core that's almost completely replaced by transfers. A couple guys are going to have step up that were on the team, but this is why I feel so confident in a Utah big win, because I don't think the defense will be able to hold up like it has last year.
I think there's a few parts of my body that haven't been punched by Matt and Dustin. So Ivan, if you'd like to get a couple in,
yeah.
I might have a couple.
Get him while he's down.
Before Ivan gets in, I want to get one more in. I just checked the last 4 years of recruiting ratings. Utah has out-recruited UCLA all 4 years.
I was
4
wondering.
straight years, Joe.
Okay, so I am going to step in between you guys. No more fighting. I think that Utah will win this game. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and Utah's 5-star kicker is going to come out on the field and drill a field goal that's too far away for my comfort, personally. Right? And I think that the thing that worries me about this game, and the reason it's going to be closer than it should, we've talked about Utah's defensive line and the struggles that they have with a lot of them are young, right? I watched Nico play SEC football. That dude's dangerous. He's very dangerous. If you give him time, he can drop dimes. Put that on a shirt, put it on your pillowcase, and sleep on it. I think Utah can do it, though. I do think UCLA is going to be better than people are going to give them credit for. That's my opinion on this UCLA game. So,
well, I mean, hearing all these things, I could see where it could go bad and where my prediction could be really wrong, because I could see, yeah, it's first game of the year, new offense, a lot of new players playing in the Rose Bowl. And your point against Nico is good. When you play in the SEC, there's no question. The SEC is the best conference in all of college football. I don't necessarily like the bottom teams, but the top teams are the best. And he did. But I still have to look at that and just see his stats were horrendous when he played a top 25 team. And I guess it depends, but and I don't know. I just feel like Morgan Scalley will dial up the right stuff to keep the right pressure, and I still feel completely comfortable. And I'm excited to meet with you guys next week and talk about how right I was with a huge victory. And we'll just have to wait for that.
All I'll say is Nico takes care of the ball.
I'm excited for that too, Matt. I sincerely hope that's the conversation that we're having. I've just got to do my job, which is to have a switchblade and just stab everybody's tires. Like,
we got to have reality.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to end it for us here tonight. Everybody listening, thank you for listening. We appreciate all of you. Please like, subscribe on any platform that you're listening on. And thank you for listening again from the bottom of our hearts. Everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. And go Utes.